Welcome to BaseballGuys.com. I'm your host on Around the Horn, Ray Flowers. Couple of trades today. Jack Hanrahan to the Red Sox. Not going to spend any time talking about that. He hasn't had a single at bat at the big league level this year. That was number one. Trade number two is one that's worth mentioning, and that's Alberto Callaspo going from the Royals to the Angels. Now, the Angels have had terrible run production all year from the third base position, mostly because of Brandon Wood's continued struggles, under a .220 batting average for the position. They add Callaspo, who should be able to hit 280 plus for the Angels. The Angels play small ball. They have a good offense. They're in a good yard. This will probably slightly increase the value of Callaspo as long as he does get that everyday look in the Angels lineup, as it appears rather likely to be. Sean Sullivan and William Smith go from the Angels to the Royals. We've got this situation with Smith, who was a 7th round draft pick in 2008. He's a lefty. He's a few years away from contributing. O'Sullivan might actually be slotted into the Royals starting rotation here, possibly as early as next week. Only leaguers are going to want to take a look at him moving forward. Jamie Moyer, bad news for Jamie Moyer. The 9th winningest left-handed pitcher in the history of baseball with 267 victories. He has a grade 2 strain of his ulnar collateral ligament. What is that? That's the ligament that often requires Tommy John surgery. It's not clear at this point if that will be needed, but a grade 2 strain could lead to that surgery. Obviously, if it does, that would have to be the end of the road, we would think, with Jamie Moyer, who's approaching his 50th birthday. Wish him well. Hopefully he's able to come back from this. It doesn't look good, as I said, and if he does hang him up as the 9th winningest lefty in the history of baseball, he has had a damn fine career. Roy Oswalt, Dan Haren, Brett Myers, Ted Lilly, all these guys are on the open market and available as we approach the trade deadline. Lilly and Myers are obviously secondary options. Myers has gone at least 6 innings in each of his 20 starts this year, would bring a lot of consistency to the hill. Ted Lilly has pitched very well at times this year. He's also struggled a bit. His last outing was very positive. He looked very good, and that has renewed some interest with some clubs. Again, those are two secondary options behind the big names of Roy Oswalt and Dan Haren. Both of those pitchers may or may not be moved. The Astros and the Diamondbacks may choose to hold on to their pitchers. They may have a hard time getting any equal value in a trade, and that might also determine what happens here. Both those guys, both Oswalt and Haren, terrific pitchers. Oswalt's almost got a strikeout an inning. ERA is barely over 3. His whip is below 1.1. He's pitched very well despite a 6-11 record. Dan Haren, folks, leads the National League in strikeouts. He's got 1 inning. His strikeout to walk ratio is almost 5-1. What's holding him back right now is an inordinate number of home runs, as well as a far too high batting average on balls in play rate. If those two numbers regress, Dan Haren could have a spectacular second half. I would look for him to do that, despite the fact he's struggled, pretty substantially in the second half for the past few seasons. These things tend to even out. Slow first half, strong second half to me for Dan Haren. Edison Volquez, another pitcher who was thought to be a real great boost coming down the stretch here in the fantasy baseball season, had a terrific first start. Against the Nationals today, he looked awful. He got 7 outs. He gave up 6 runs. He only threw 38 strikes out of 75 pitches. He could not locate the strike zone whatsoever. What does this mean with Volquez? Well, this is what you're going to get. He's only a year removed from the surgery. In fact, not even a year removed from the surgery. He struggled last year at times, especially with his control. I know he dominated in the minor leagues, but there is a big difference between facing 22-year-olds and facing seasoned major league veterans. He could still be a helpful addition to fantasy squads, but don't go thinking he's going to go out there and run out a 2.5 ERA for the rest of the season for the Reds. It ain't going to happen. Josh Johnson. Now here's a pitcher who is going to go out and run out a 2.5 ERA for the rest of the season. Last 13 starts, Josh Johnson has allowed 2 or fewer earned runs. He's got 5 games this year, if you can believe this, where he's allowed 1 or 0 earned runs and hasn't got the victory. So don't worry about his win-loss record. It's not really an indication of how well he has pitched. He had another fine outing today, lowering his ERA to a 1.61 mark before the day started today. This is an interesting fact. There have been 5 pitchers in the history of the game since the divisional play was introduced in 1969, so we're talking 40 plus years here. Only 5 pitchers have ever had a lower ERA than Josh Johnson's mark through 19 starts this year. He has been excellent for the Marlins. Bobby Jenks is no longer the closer for the White Sox. He's been removed from that role. It's not quite clear who's going to get the turn in the 9th inning, whether it's Putz or Thornton. I would have to think it'd probably be Putz because he's right-handed. Teams are real reluctant with lefties to put him in that closer's role. Thornton, it can be argued, has been the best non-closing relief pitcher in baseball the past 2.5+ seasons. He has looked excellent. all year long, and again, the last couple of seasons. I love Thornton. I hope they give him the opportunity, but if they don't, puts us back to looking like the pitcher he was when he was at the Mariners and dominating in the 9th inning. And then finally, some really good news on two guys we continue to talk about. Jacoby Ellsbury out forever with those side issues, that ribcage situation. Actually took batting practice on Wednesday. Still don't have a timeline for when he could be back on the field, but obviously taking batting practice is a huge step. And then Brian Roberts has been down in the minors, doing well. His back feels much better. It looks like he might actually be activated on Friday. That's potentially possible. If not, Monday at the latest. Brian Roberts finally going to return to action for the Baltimore Orioles. Ray Flowers, BaseballGuys.com. Thanks for joining me on Around the Horn, and I will talk to you all again really soon. And don't forget to visit me at twitter.com/BaseballGuys and to listen to the Fanball Fantasy Drive on XM 147 and Sirius 211 Monday through Friday from 5 to 8 Eastern Standard Time. And on Sundays, we have a late night show for you, 8 to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Talk to you soon.